Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where it right now is 10 past 7. Yes, even though I had a bit of a good streak recording during the day, recording during me times that I actually had, of course we're going to push them to a later time. And this is probably going to have an effect and gonna push them all around the clock. I don't know yet, right? But that just might be the way it's gonna go. Now, if you look at my face, it might not look as good and pretty as it used to be, or equally as hideous, right? And that's because I have a bit of a red tone to it. Believe me, there is a story behind it. It's a reason. It's not necessarily a good reason, but it's a true reason. I'm gonna take that up in the end of the video. So I hope that you ain't too bothered about that, because let me just say, some lessons you just have to learn twice, thrice, fourth, five, a lot of times. Anyway, mates, enough about that. Let's get into today's video topic. And you might be asking, it's Saturday. What does that actually mean? I have like a feeling in my body, a tingling feeling everywhere, that Saturday is supposed to be something interesting, something important. And you, lady or gentleman, are so very right. Because on this channel, on my little corner of the internet, on the Saturdays, it's time to present YouTube's absolutely favorite show. We're talking top-notch stuff right here. And what is it, you might ask? It's the title. What? It's the title everywhere. It's the SNR. What? It's the SNR. It's the SNR. You hear people whispering it, and then it gets louder and louder and louder and clearer and clearer and clearer, and everybody's like, SNR is the Saturday News Recap. Recap. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, today it is time for the Saturday News Recap, where I go through some selective news from the last week. Sometimes they overlap with the Saturday of last week, but that's just the way it goes, right? And bear in mind, these are news pieces that have caught my eye, things that I've been taking out and being like, I would like to look at that twice because that's rather interesting. Things that are kind of sparked an interest in me. So just keep that in mind. If I'm skipping over any potentially huge news, that you might be expecting. Also, we're going to talk about two international news pieces. The first one is going to be a rather sad one, unfortunately, but I feel like we need to talk about it anyway, because it's kind of a problem, and that's never good, so we should do our best to combat that issue. The second one is going to be a bloody miracle, which is great, which is something that I actually encourage to, like, 90%. I would like to say 100%, but I just came up with a reason why, and I hope I remember it in a few minutes when we're going to talk about that. And after that, there's actually three smaller news pieces around the channel, so to say. One of which is going to explain why I might look a bit red today up here in my head. I don't know if it makes like white points. Anyway, the camera might not be good enough. But without any further ado, mates, let's jump straight into it, and let's get to the meats and the potatoes of this video. The first international news piece, as I said, is going to be a rather unfortunate one, and I'm just going to double check my notes so I get this absolutely bloody right. Now, during the FIFA World Cup, during the playoffs, especially with Sweden, Sweden lost to Germany, which was at the time considered to be a plausible win during the match. But unfortunately, one guy in the team called Jimmy Durmaz, not dumbass, don't be like that, Jimmy Durmaz slide tackled one of the German players so that they got a free kick, or whatever it's called in English, and scored a goal in like the last couple of seconds of the match. Now, people were really irritated by this and really angry, and to some degree, I would argue it's okay to say rightfully so, right? Because they just lost their team lose. So it's obviously I'm saying obviously, it is, as I understand it, socially acceptable to complain when the team that is the foremost and best players in your nation goes out there and loses. And that is all okay, yet again. And then you might be asking, well, where is the dumb things coming in? Where is the interesting stuff coming in? Where is the actual news behind this? Because sure, Sweden actually lost that game, but they won against Mexico 3-0. Woohoo! So we're actually passing on through to the quarterfinals, or whatever it's called. Not the quarterfinals, the octafinals. Anyway. The problems with this is that the guy who happened to slide tackle the German player he doesn't, and how should I phrase this so even the idiots out there can get it, or rather so it's a bit more politically correct, even though I feel no need to say that. This guy is obviously Swedish. Let's start with saying that. He's probably born in Sweden and he considers himself a Swede, which is the most important thing, right? What is he actually considering his main nationality to be? And he considers it to be Swedish. And even so, if he might be born in Sweden as well, shouldn't really matter in my opinion. Anyway, this guy has a look of someone who isn't traditionally Swedish. And I'm just gonna put it in quotation mark because at this point I don't think that it should matter what is considered to be the average Swede or the average Dane or the average Nigerian, right? Because we have such an international society that shouldn't play a big role. Yet again, when I'm talking about perception of nationality, what nationality do you perceive yourself to be in? That's probably the nationality you should be in. Anyway, this guy slide tackled the German player and got so much racial, what you would say, jumps on him. People online and probably even in person going up to him and saying that he was trash. But not only that he was trash, because as he went out and said in an official statement, sure, but like footballers, they're professional footballers. They get critiqued all the time. That's a part of their job. It's a part of what they're, it's a part of what they're unfortunately living, right? And that's also, critique could also be a way of them to actually develop and further their understanding of the game. However, what is not acceptable, as he also states in his statement, is when it gets down to racial insensitive issues. Like, for instance, calling him different names, calling him a suicide bomber just because he has a beard, and all of these really, really awful and weird things, saying that it was his and only his fault that Sweden lost that game. And it's so many stupid people out there. I can't stress this enough. This is like the gay people and the wedding cake all over again, but in my own nation. So, I can't understand how people can be so, and I'm not using this term lightly, so bear with me. I can't understand how people can be so fucking stupid, right? And say that, oh, based on that you look a certain way, and based that we think that you have a certain religion, we're gonna say that you're a fucking asshole just because, well, you look different. And it's so fucking stupid. I can't bear to read these things even. I get so angry with this. I mean, why can't we all be friends? How hard can it be? Anyway, so he obviously got a lot of trash for this. For, to some degree, critique towards his judgment in the moment could be justified. But all of the racist stuff that was thrown out there, which of there was a lot, it's just so, I was gonna say uncalled for, but that's the wrong word as well. It's so wrong to even try and state that. It's so fucking stupid, right? So it's crazy. I absolutely hate people who are racists because it's so irrational to be a racist, isn't it? It's like the most irrational thing you can do. It's like, you look a bit different, therefore I'm judging you based, not because I know you, but because of what you look like. It's so weird. And that this happened to a professional football player that nonetheless, or that to at least got us into this bloody world championship to begin with by scoring a goal against France by himself, right? Or the entire nation did it, or the entire team did it, because people were saying that, oh, it's not just one player getting the entire team into the world championship, but then when he missed the goal, oh, it is only this player that actually failed the entire team. And it's so fucking stupid. And I wholeheartedly believe that there are really racist people out there who kind of drove this movement, because I cannot think of any sane person looking at that and being like, it's your bloody fault. It's only your fault, and it's because you look different. It's probably because you have a beard, and that's even weirder, because if you look at the Vikings, mates, yeah, just take a check in any history book. Anyway, let's move past that and say good luck Sweden on Tuesday, I think it is. Woo! When we're playing against Belgium, maybe. I'm not that into football, right? I'm just into the political stuff, which I think is hilarious at times and absolutely bloody infuriating at times like these. Anyway, let's move on to the next international piece of news that is a bit happier, that is a tad bit lighter in tone. And that is that an 8-year-old Lawrence Simmons from Belgium starting university in autumn. because he recently did 6 years worth of school in 1.5 years. And now he's gonna have a 2-month summer break and then get back to school again and doing, applying for university when he is still 8 or has turned 9. That wasn't really stated in the article, but let's just say that he's still 8. Or it's mind-boggling. It's so amazing. And as I said, I would like to say that I'm 100% behind this, right? But I'm not. I'm like at 90% behind this. Because I do not believe that we should pressure young kids just because we can and just because they have the potential to be greater. And that might seem very strange to some of you, right? But it's only when it comes to kids, because kids should be allowed to be kids. However, when when reading the interview with his parents, they were basically saying that, yeah, it's all on his own accord. We would be equally as happy if it turned out that he one day didn't want to work with anything academic at all, and he just wanted to get a regular, quote-unquote, regular job that didn't need any education, like a cleaner, for instance, or whatever you have it, or a builder, right? Even though there needs education, it's not what I'm saying. It's just that it's not like a PhD doctoral level, right? Hope I didn't offend anyone. And this is amazing to me that he both had parents, and we don't know if this is true or not, obviously, because they can be saying one thing and then doing another. But if we assume that they're actually truthful, which we kind of have to assume, right? Because that's just the way we need to read news. We have to assume that certain sources are true. Otherwise, we cannot proceed with anything, can we? So if we assume that they're true, it's amazing that this guy is so driven by himself to actually just complete school. Or rather, when you break it down, it's not that mind-bogglingly amazing. Because if you think about it, the 6 years worth of school that he did is probably very reasonable to do within the time frame that he did. Right? But it's about the mindset of actually using his free time and spare time to actually do these things, do them efficiently, effectively, actually ask for help, and obviously being clever so that he actually understands what he does and that he can get a lot of information in and understand it quickly, adapt it and use it, which is obviously, yet again, genius level stuff. So it is really hard to do, but just time efficiently and time wise, it's absolutely doable. To me, when I'm reading this, it feels like a grown-up person with a really good way of interacting with academia is put in a children's body, because it's that kind of mentality of work, right? 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 8 hours a day, can do this, probably more for this kid, right? And actually just work through everything. Obviously, it's still amazing. It's an incredible achievement, and we shouldn't undermine that. I'm just thinking of the logistics of how we got this to work to begin with. And when I thought about it, I was like, if he's really smart and gets everything like this, and this, it's very reasonable that he did it within 1.5 years. That's just my take. Yet again, the 22-year-old world announced just graduated student in economics who probably knows everything about everything, right? Obviously not. So it's an incredible achievement. It's just my own estimation in order to make some sense of the entire thing. Anyway, let's move into the more localized news. And in other news, I always wanted to say that, by the way, but I never do. The shirtless experience. I wished I flexed. I think I addressed this in a video, so I don't think I need to talk that much about it, but I was basically shirtless in a video this week, which was a huge step for me, and I think that it further developed the point I was trying to make. And even if it didn't, I hope that the clarifications that I did the day after helped to further what I meant. Can you just leave it at that? 2, found the audio setting on the DSLR. Wow, this is so interesting. On the DSLR, so I might not need an extra microphone abroad. Hooray! Yeah, that's basically it, right? I found how to actually use my DSLR in a better way so I can adjust the audio on the thing so I don't need to pack an extra mic. Anyway, it's not that important. And thirdly, I went on a trip today. And as I said, some lessons you have to learn many, many, many times. And this is going to be related to why I look a bit red today. Now, let me just change first. 1 second. And we're back. Okay, so today I was out in 19 degrees Celsius, right? 19 degrees. So I thought I ain't gonna be burned today because it's 90 degrees outside. 19 degrees Celsius outside. And it was a bit cold, but it was such a good weather. The sun was on all of the bloody time, and we were like bicycling around this this island that we've been talking about for 3 years to actually visit. And now, once we actually are forced to maybe move away from here, we actually got to the way of doing it. Anyway, the problem was that we didn't apply any sunscreen, so I'm really burned in my face. And especially for someone like me who do not, how should we say this, have hair at all on my head, I have a problem with getting burned on the top of my head. Now, usually that's a huge problem because I get easily irritated, I get dimsy, whimsy, flimsy, and so on and so forth. Didn't happen this time. This time I only got burned enough so that it could be seen, but not that it actually affected me in the time, which probably was why I didn't recognize it. And my arms is super weird. Yeah, I was gonna say, oh, you might not be able to see that in the camera, but you can absolutely see that in the camera, right? And look at the difference. Here is one side, and here is the other. It kind of looks like I'm having an extra sleeve, an extended sleeve that's just white. And you can see also the difference in skin tone to my face and my arm. This is really painful. And to add to that, I kind of fell as well. So I got, well, that's a short little remark, but my legs got pretty smashed up and scratched up. Nothing major, right? But still kind of irritating because I was walking around singing. I was, on some rocks. And this is another lesson, by the way. When you walk on rocks, you should probably be very focused on what you're doing, right? I wasn't. I was just like, this works fine. This went splendidly. Now I can let go of the chain, so to say, and I can walk freely. And obviously, when I was started thinking about other things and just walking around on the rocks, I fell, and that's why my legs got smashed up. Now, as I said, you can't see that. It's more like scratched up because if I say smashed up, you probably imagine that I've broken. I didn't. I just scratched them really, really bad, like everywhere. So that's not pleasant. And then I came home to this. Yeah, which isn't the best either. On both sides, by the way, I might add. I looked so funny when I was looking at me in the mirror. I was like, it looks like I have on a shirt, and then you just inverted the colors of the entire picture because I'm so much darker on, my forearms and my head. So that was hilarious. It's really painful, by the way. It's not even funny. I mean, it's kind of funny because these are things that your parents tell you when you're a child and all the time you grow up. And you're always like, I don't need it. Or, oh yeah, I know. And then I was going out today. And it's not the first time I've been out since I moved away from home. And I still did a mistake. It's just one of those human errors, I know. It's crazy. So this might affect some videos I do in the future to make them be a bit shorter maybe, because this is really painful and I didn't think I was going to be able to talk for this long today. However, we will see as we progress. This might actually also, if you listen this far, be affecting the music video, the recording of a cover that I would like to do tomorrow, because I want it to be as good as it can be, but that might be yet again affected if I am thinking about my forearms and my head all of the time. We'll see how that all turns out. If I'm happy about it, I'll publish it. If I'm not, probably push it to the week, because I have been practicing on it, and you should be ashamed to see that all. Well, practice good shame. Anyway, mates, have a nice one, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.